This meeting is being
Hey,
recorded.
hey, what's up, Winifred? So what about the subject matter interests you most? Or you felt why'd you feel it interesting?
I'm gonna be honest, the baseball caught my eye and I was like, I have to come.
Yeah.
Wow. Gotcha. I like that.
I was like, because like I love baseball, and I like when people talk about like the different cultures of baseball. So I saw the book, and I was like very inspired. So I wanted to join this.
Oh man, y'all making my day right now. Y'all making my day. It's always good to see. You know, I tell you what, I call the X-Gen generation, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like your generation because you guys are very vocal about the things you believe and what you feel. And you don't let other people stop you from doing what most people would consider to be taboo. You're like, no, if I don't like it, I'm gonna speak on it. If I wanna do it, I'm gonna at least try it. Forget the old, bring in the new. And you guys really, really inspire me.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think they're the first generation that actually lives against the grain of that's the way it's always been done, so that's the way we're always going to do it. I think they literally live to explore and change things. I find that in that group, especially with my grandkids who are a little older than these guys. My grandkids are in their 20s, but it is amazing how they're like, I don't care what you did, and I don't care what people expect. I'm going to do what I do. So.
Yeah, and I guarantee you both got probably the flashiest rooms that's going to be in the meeting tonight. You got the lights, the glitz, the glamour. Yeah, I like that. It looks like my grandson's room. He probably gonna put lights all around the ceiling, around the door, around the mirror. I'm like, what? Whatever, it's your room, buddy.
Yeah, I got lights all the way up here, and I got some under my bed too.
Yeah,
Wow.
I can get some more lights on. I got some.
That's crazy.
I can make it red theme for your book.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I can't.
Oh, that's so cool. So now, when you're gaming or when you're in your setting, in your mood, do you feel like that makes you perform better, or it's just?
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Okay. What's the hot game out there now for you guys?
I'm playing an old game right now. I'm playing Mafia too. It came out in 2012.
Okay.
I'm playing this Trojan War game.
Wow. Well, I think you guys are going to learn a lot throughout this conversation, and I hope it inspires you to make change.
Mm-hmm.
Because as I wrote in the book, I talked about, this is an inclusive world, and I told somebody, I was talking to a coach the other day, and I told him, I don't think baseball, football, basketball would be any fun with just one race of people playing. It's about all of that's what makes the world go round. I mean, I live in California, so we're talking about 176, 77 different cultures of people, nationalities, and maybe even more than that now. That was one of the things that attracted me to move out here, is just the newness, and again, the opportunity to meet people that didn't look like me, that didn't talk like me, and I wanted to get to know them and want them to share my experiences with them so that they would have a great experience as well. What are you guys' favorite subject in school?
Definitely weight training. Weight training.
Weight training? What about you, Kat?
I kind of like science. She's my favorite teacher.
Miss
It's
Piper's
teacher,
your
she's
favorite
really nice to
teacher?
us.
It's interesting that you say that, because that's the way I felt too. It was my favorite teacher that made me like the subject that I liked the most. It wasn't so much the subject that I liked, but the teacher made me like the subject. Then I fell in love with it. Yeah.
Like last year in 8th grade for history, I loved the teacher to death, but I
Yes,
hated the
eighth grade
class.
history teacher was the best. He was always cool.
I loved him.
Yeah, he was the best.
Wow. And you're going to carry that memory with you for the rest of your life. You'll be talking about him until when you have your kids and when you have other experiences. I know I still talk about my teachers. You know, I had a music teacher that was well, I had two music teachers because I was in choir and I was in performing arts a lot. So my two teachers I remember most were, well, actually three, but they were both music teachers. And they were both at two different schools, but they gave me different genres of music that just inspired me to really love music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like music too. I listen to a lot of different types of music and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm older than George, but I still remember very vividly my drama teacher and one of my history teachers. And in college, I had a professor who was really a mentor the entire 4 years I was earning my bachelor's degree. And even though I'm, 40 years removed from all that, it's like yesterday. You never forget the people. You may forget what they taught in the class, but you never forget the people.
That's true. That is true.
So, George, talk about why you were inspired to write your book.
Okay, the first thing is I wanted to say that the book was actually inspired by other people other than myself. It really, really was. And then as I began to think about the book and the experiences that I was discovering through these people, I thought about myself. I thought about my experience. Then I thought about the experience that my grandson is in, because he's a baseball player right now. He's one of the top baseball players in the country. And I'm looking at his experience and it correlated with what I went through in the 70s and the 80s. And the similarities drove me to the point of, we need to talk about this. We need to really delve into sports and baseball, but not, this just doesn't happen in baseball. It happens in other sports too, but primarily, we focused on baseball for this particular book. And that's how I came up with the title, The Black and White of Baseball, because I started noticing at all the events, and I referenced it, it's funny because I referenced this about the College World Series that's going on now, the women's softball championship that's going on right now, MLB that's going on right now, and the lack of Black players in all of those three areas. So it's evident, and you can see it's so relevant right now because you can see it. I didn't time it like that with the book, but it just so happens. If you want a history lesson, you want to look at the stories that I'm talking about in the book, just turn on TV right now. I watched the World Series, the College World Series, the conference championships this weekend. I watched women and men softball because I'm a baseball fiend and softball fiend. And I've been watching MLB. I go to the games and all that. And the lack of Black players in that sport is just unbelievable to me. And so I started asking myself, why is this existing? And, what can we do about it?
Yeah, I really like.
Go ahead.
I like the way you think. You seem like a really nice person, like genuine and everything. And you make me feel like happy and everything. Like you seem like a really nice dude.
Wow.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Any questions you guys have about any of the stuff that we talk about, please feel free to ask. No question is a dumb question. And I don't know it all. You'll probably inspire me more than I'll inspire you tonight. And just by your presence of being here, I'm already like on cloud 9, because having 15-year-olds tap into this conversation means a lot to me, because you will change the future and you will change the mindset and you'll be able to share what we talk about tonight and hopefully make a difference in somebody else's life. Because I don't know what your social base is and who you hang out with at school or who what your demographics, or at your school, but you'll be able to apply some of the lessons that we're going to talk about tonight, even with your classmates. And hopefully you'll see them differently. Hopefully they'll see you differently. Hopefully you'll say something, you'll recognize some things that you might have done that now you say, oh, I think I handle that differently next time. Or I won't prejudge a person by the way they talk, the way they look, and even sometimes the way they act without getting to know them. Because my mother told me when I was a kid, she said, you know, because I grew up in a movement when civil rights movement. And so it was a lot of fighting back and forth, whites, blacks, in the South especially. And she told me one day, she said, you know what, George, she says, there's good and bad in all people. So don't ever think that just because a person is one color, that they're all bad. Don't ever think just because a person is another color that they're all good. People have the choice to be good or evil. So treat everybody the same, no matter what color they are, no matter what language they speak, you treat them the same. And then you'll see the good or you'll see the bad in them. And then you make your choices from there.
Well, I think what George is saying is very relevant. Like I said, I'm a little older. I grew up and I was a teen during the civil rights movements. And the bottom line is very simple. I look back to then and I look at today and I don't really see a lot of difference. There's not a lot of dialogue and there's not a lot of change. Most of the adults deny that there's a racial problem or a diversity issue that needs to be resolved because they put on blinders and they don't want to admit that there's still a problem. They want to think that back in the past, 60 years ago, that we solved this problem. And unfortunately, human beings don't work that way. We may solve the problem for one day, 1 week, 1 month, but the problem is going to persist if even a few people make it persist. What people need to do is they need to realize that even though you are both in the same area of the country, you don't have any clue about other people's origin stories around you. If you look through your class, unless you went from kindergarten all the way to where you are now with someone in your school, you don't have any clue what their origin story is. You don't know, anything about them other than what they might offer to tell you. And so if you prejudge them, you're prejudging with no information. That's just the bottom line. So there's only 3 reasons to write a book. Number 1 is to tell a story, George. I think you told a very, very, very strong story. The second reason is to influence dialogue, to get people to talk about it. So, if these young gentlemen read your book and then they talk about it, well, the job is done. Because once dialogue starts, it never stops. That's the way it works. The third reason is because you want it to be timeless. You want it to be around long after you're gone. You want your grandson, who's your age, to look back and say, my grandfather wrote that book, and look at the changes that have occurred because of it. So those are the 3 reasons you write the book. And so tell me what you think about that, George.
Well, I think you hit it right on the head. And Caleb, and I know you say hey on your, but you gotta tell me your name one time.
It's Gage.
Gage. I just put my email address in the chat for you guys. I'm gonna send you both guys a book. So make sure you send me your addresses, and I'll mail you guys a copy of the book so you guys can have it to read for yourselves.
All right.
Yeah. So back to your question, though, buddy. People started coming to me because once they started recognizing my grandson as a player and being a Black player, we go to these events and he would be the only Black person on the team with all whites, even in our own city. Or it would be him and another Black kid. And so other Black kids start coming up and their families would start coming up and they'd say, oh man, I want to get to know your grandson. Can I take pictures with him? So he's been taking photos with other kids and adults since, the last 2 or 3 years, since his 7th grade year. because he kept making these high profile teams, whether it was the Atlanta Braves scout team or whether it was the New York Mets scout team. And so they just recognized him as being one of the only Black faces out there. And then they started telling me stories about their baseball experience and how much they loved the game, but they didn't participate in the game no more. So my question would be, why? And they said because of the experience that they were having weren't great experiences. The coaches wouldn't, play them, or the way they critiqued them and their style of play was different from the white kids that they critiqued. And they just fell out of love for the game. Some of them had tried to play the game early, like in the Pony League and the Little Leagues. And when we first got started in Pony League and Little League and, started playing T-ball, the same scenario was present. It was only 1 or 2 Black kids in the whole park. We were in one park in our area, and I guarantee it had to be at least 600 kids. And out of that entire park, there was probably only 20 Black kids. Now, can you imagine trying to find some identification in that park with 20 Black kids who are trying to find some influence, some reason why to be there, and what it was like for them to participate when they had very few friends, if any at all. And there was definitely no leadership that looked like us. So then there's no coaches. So the board didn't look like us, the coach didn't look like us, and very few players look like us. So how could they formulate a strategy or give us the feel that we belong in that situation? And that's how the book kind of started taking shape. I started getting all these the quotes and the conversations from other people. And it always bothered me because and at one point, as I spoke about in the book, I went to the board and talked about those things. Inclusivity, trying to figure out how can we make it more welcoming to Black kids to participate if there are no coaches that look like them, if there's no board members that are going to go out and try to attract them into the park to play. Because when kids get together, all kids really want to do is play. They don't care what you look like or what the next person look like to them. All they know is, am I having fun? And so it had to be the adults. That was the underlying thing that was present in all these situations where we lack participation. The adults, the kids they got out there, played, ran into each other, had fun, picked up the balls, threw the balls, no problem, until it came to the adults. And so I started telling the stories based on those families. And I included myself in the beginning just as an icebreaker to tell my part of the story, and then included all the other things that came forth in the book.
Well, I know Winifred did one of your testimonials, and I know she's driving, so we don't want to cause her to have any problems. But when I was going through your book, George, the one thing that struck me the most was that you never hesitated to be candid about your color, your background, your race. And I know that one of the biggest issues we face today is that there's a fairly significant number of people who are the same as you and I. We don't look at race. We look at ability. We look at inclusiveness. We look at uniqueness. We reward uniqueness. I mean, that's the number one thing is, how unique are you, and can you still get the job done even though you're being unique? While old school, the way most of the people who are on the other side of the fence, they're looking for conformity. So, if I was going to give a message to Gage and Caleb, especially, I would say there's a time to conform, and you'll know that, you'll feel that. But you really need to celebrate uniqueness. You need to look at people and celebrate the fact that they're unique. And there's no such thing as any human being who's exactly like you throughout history. And there will be another one just like you. So you are unique, and you need to give everyone that opportunity to be unique, and then celebrate the uniqueness. Don't look down on it, because we're not here to judge or shame or blame somebody for what they do or how they think. We can be curious about it, we can ask about it, but we can't put it down. That's the message in George's book. Would you agree with that, George?
Oh, 100%. I mean, and I'll tell you a story. When I was in high school, there was a situation that I was bused to a pretty much all white high school. And when I got to that high school, so now we're back in the numbers game again, where there's very few African Americans, but majority of whites. So a friend of mine did something to one of the white kids at school. And I saw it. And so based on how I was raised, I told him, I said, you know, we end up getting called to the principal's office. And this is a lesson for you two guys. You guys are going to run across a situation where you're going to have to decide, am I going to stand up for what's right or for what's popular? And I had to make that choice then. So I had to make the decision to stand up for what happened to the white kid or side with my friend that was Black. And so I opted to do what was right. Not that I deserve any pat on the back. My conscience wouldn't allow me to do what was being asked of me at that time from my friend. And what he had done was, we were in ROTC class and we had these rubber rifles. And so it was an argument about who got the rifle to carry to do the twirls and all that. And so my friend who I grew up with, who was in the neighborhood with, hit the white kid with the rifle. And I'm like, why would you do that? So the teacher got involved and we go to the principal's office. So the principal says, they knew I'm the only witness other than my friend and the white kid. But on the way to the office, I told my friend, I said, you know what? I said, this is one time you're going to be mad at me because I can't see what you did was so egregious and so wrong. I couldn't come to a conscious thought of siding with you and not doing what the right thing was. And I had to tell my friend. And he eventually got to the point where he forgave me for it. And he understood, I should say, that why I did what I did. And he apologized to the kid and all that, but I had to make the choice that was the right choice, not the popular choice. Because think about this. He told all my friends, which were all his friends. So now how's that going to look to the community that I was in, about my decision? And it wasn't a popular decision, but it was the right decision. And being your age, you're going to run across that. And I talk about that in the book as well. There's a lot of people who watch things happen to us or Black players, and they say nothing. They'll say something to you individually, privately, but will they speak up for you? And will they go against the status quo because of how it's going to make them look? And that happens all the time, especially in this sport.
Yeah, I also think that it kind of leads up to integrity, and it's a valuable lesson because you always have to do the right thing when nobody's looking.
Oh man, beautifully said.
Well, I think a lot of people, they really look at the world through two lenses. One is, what is going to get me where I want to go? And they don't care whether it's right or wrong. Or there are those who say, I'm going to do the right thing and I'll take whatever it gets.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I spent my entire life understanding that I really have to be able to live with that guy I see in the mirror every day. So, Caleb, when you say integrity is important, you're on the right track. You're way ahead of a lot of kids your age, because a lot of people will, and I'm talking about adults, not just kids. A lot of adults will do whatever they think will get them where they want to go, and they don't look at who it's going to hurt. They don't look at how it's going to reflect on them in the long run, as long as they get where they want to get in the short run. They live by the idea that it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Yeah.
And in my world, you have to ask for permission and then prove that you earn permission, and then you get to do it. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because sorry. Oh, well,
Wait.
it's because what I was saying is like the smallest things you do can have like effect on someone hugely, like bigly. Like very
Yep.
big.
No, you're right. You're right. I mean, just like this situation, we're in this Zoom call right now, and you two guys signed on. I mean, you didn't know me. I didn't know you saw something. You were inspired to come in and listen to a conversation that most people would say is way above your head. But to me, this is where the conversation needs to be held at, right here in this group, because you guys are the next leaders of this country. You, some shape, form, or fashion, you guys will influence the things that will happen in America. And if you understand and you take that seriously, you want to always have fun, be, living that age that you are, but you also have a sense, I can tell you guys have a sense of responsibility for what you've been given. And that is so important. And it's so, like I said, it's inspiring. I shouldn't be surprised that you guys are here, because I love the Gen X group. I do. I have a fun because of your boldness and your assertiveness when you see some things and you stand up and you do, what you feel is the right thing to do.
Well, George, in my world, we're just the caretakers. This is their world.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I live to where I should, I've got about 2 more decades. I've got maybe 20 years in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
These kids have got 75 years in front of them. But I'm just like holding a place so that they'll have a good place to come to. That's the way I live my life. I know that's how you live your life, because you and I have had many conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And, the value is in the youth. The wealth may be in the older people, but the value is in the youth. And that's where we have to look at.
Yes. Engage and Caleb, just so you guys know, Buddy wrote the foreword for this book. He was the guy that I, really wanted to give some insight and input into the book. So he wrote the foreword for the book. And Buddy is an author himself, and he's also an editor. He does a great job of editing and helping tell the story for a lot of writers in across the country. So, just so you guys have a little background about who he is. And, some of the cool things that's in this book is that there's some charts and graphs in here that actually tell the story that give the facts of what I'm saying in the book to bring those to real life. And there's also some photos in the book, some historical photos in the book from this museum called the Withers Collection, which is in Tennessee. But the man who took the photos his name was Ernest Withers. And he actually has 1.8 million photos, some of them in the National Museum in Washington, D.C. If you ever get a chance to go there, you'll see his photos there, and across some other places in the country. So,
sir.
Yes.
My friend's computer died, so he said he's going to join back as soon as he can.
Okay, no problem. Thank you for telling me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you guys ever get a chance to go to the Washington, D.C., to the museum, or when you get the book, there's some barcodes in here too that you get a chance to scan. So you'll see some of the images plus the images that are in the book. And also, it's a survey in the book as well. That's a surprise for a lot of people. It's a survey in the book, which we put in because we wanted to know your thoughts and some on the subject that you might have come across, or someone that's come across. And so, yeah, it's a lot of different interesting things in the book.
Well, and plus the layout of the book is really important. A lesson that Caleb and Gage are both going to learn is that you can't lead with statistics. You can't lead with facts. People really don't care about facts. Unless you can tease them into the room with passion and emotions and get them really engaged, you're never going to win with facts. So when you're writing, as you go through school, Caleb, and engage, when he goes back, he can always listen to the recording. Always lead with passion and your heart and soul, and then back it up with the facts. You know, the way George's book is laid out, he's got his story in the front. He's got a discussion about what is right and wrong, what is white and black about baseball today. And then he finally puts the statistics and the graphs and the data in the back so that it's support material for what he wrote. If he led with the statistics, a lot of people would just put the book down and never finish reading. So always lead with some kind of passion, some kind of emotion. Yes, I want to get your attention. So, you know, that's where we are now. If you want to know if I'm telling the truth, there's charts and facts and things in the back. You can go look at them. But, you know, that's how George laid the book out. And it's a very good way to lay out a book.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Yeah, it's important to know, especially for them as could be young writers. Like you said, everyone has a story.
Absolutely.
Everybody has a story. It's just a matter if they have the courage or to tell it or the will to tell it. Because it took a lot for me to write this book because it was very emotional at certain times. There's a lot of reflecting that you get to do when you become a writer. And it takes you to some places. It's almost like being an actor when you really tell a story of a movie, of a, you know, whether it's Mr. Buttons or whether it's Mandela or it's you know, the story, I just saw Little Mermaids, whatever story you're telling. When you dig into the character, that character has emotions, has feelings. It wants to convey something to you. So this book it's telling a story, but it brought up a lot of emotions, a lot of childhood memories, some of it pain, some of it was painful, some of it was fun. Some things I hadn't thought about in years that made me laugh. Some things I hadn't thought about in years that made me cry. Some things I thought about that made me angry. Some things I thought about that just made me want to share the story so that it would change someone else's life, that it would inspire the people who are on the other side that are impacting or influencing the pain. Because sometimes we can do things that we don't even have a clue we're doing to people that hurt them. And when we're called on it or when we're made aware of it, we change. Smart people change. They move forward and say, okay, you know what? I didn't even realize I had that effect on you. Let me change my approach and how I do that, because I didn't want to remove you from the game. I didn't want you not to participate in the game. I love this game and I want everybody to love it. But maybe my approach at it didn't say that. Didn't say that at all.
Well, it says it now.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that, you know, this is not a fiction story. This is a real world story. And the real world is way more interesting than fiction ever could be, because it's flesh and blood people who are living those stories. You know, the biggest thing for me, George, the first time I read through your material, it brought up a dozen memories easily the first time I read through of things and players that I had played with as a youth and as a teenager that I would never have remembered if I hadn't picked up the material. And as I was working through it, I knew how your emotions were because we had had conversations. And when I was trying to smooth out some of the rough edges and put it together, I wanted your reality and the world through your eyes to come through. And I've talked to a couple of people. I've given copies of the book to a couple of people here where I live. And the feedback I've got is, you know, that's a real story. It's a meaningful story. And it's like, well, yeah, you can't make up this stuff. He lived it. It's
Exactly.
It's the way it works. So don't get immersed in fiction. Whatever you do, always realize real life is where the action's at. Come where the action's at.
Oh wow, and that's a great point too, buddy. Because man, I did live what's in this book, and I'm still living what's in this book, and that's the even more incredible part of it. You know, is that through generations, this is still remaining a subject. And we should be so far beyond this right now. We should be dealing with some other things that would change our country, change our nation, bring us together as a group of people, a nation, a tribe of different types of people, different voices, different personalities, different mindsets that we all just can now, intermingle and do our thing and have a good time at it. But, like you said, it's real. It's real.
Yeah.
Well,
And,
yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead, Caleb.
okay. And when I said when we come together, we can like accomplish more. It's just like in baseball, when a team comes together, they have a better chance of winning.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And it's so true.
The problem with woulda, coulda, and shoulda is that, that's not reality. Whatever choices we make them right now, and 2 seconds from now, they're already in the past. We can't change them. We have to live with the decision we make and the outcome. But, my grandfather used to have a saying. He would say, if wouldas and couldas and wishes was hot dogs, chicken, and fishes, we'd all be eating a feast. But that's just not the way the world works. You gotta go out and you gotta earn that stuff.
Yep. And you know what? It's yeah, man. I'm like blown away right now, with Caleb engaged, because just, you get surprised every day in life. I think God unwraps a gift for you every day if you just open your eyes and you see it. And today you guys were my present.
Really?
Y'all were my
That's
present
awesome.
from God. Yeah, y'all were my present from God. Just being here, just young people, because that's what I do. I mean, I love coaching. I love being involved with young people. Keeps me young, but it gives me a chance to give. Just keep continually giving. And I hope that, I know this won't be our last time having a conversation of being in the present together. And actually, I come to Georgia at least a couple of times a year because of baseball tournaments that we play in Georgia. So, we'll stay connected as far as our relationship on social media. And maybe I get a chance to meet you guys, parents, and see what I see. Awesome. See the wonderful people that were raised wonderful kids like you guys.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to come to LA because nobody ever comes to the desert to play baseball. When it's 115 degrees, people don't play baseball.
Yeah.
But he lives in Arizona.
Oh.
Yeah, he lives where it's hot in the summer.
Yeah, it was 105 degrees today, and it was a cool day.
Wow. Yeah, it was only 60, 70 something here today.
Uh-huh.
But Caleb, do you have any questions? Is there anything on your mind that you want to know about? Maybe it's not even about the book, about baseball, but any experiences that you're going through that you could use some encouragement with, or
I think I'm good, but when was it? When did you make this book?
I finished the book in 2000, just a few months ago.
A few months ago? Oh.
Yeah, finished months ago. It took me 2.5 years to actually write the book, just to put the content together, because I had, anytime you start writing, you have an idea of what it is you might want to talk about. But as you begin to write it, different things come up. Some things you feel might need to be left out of it because it won't make the story. It won't make it, not just relevant, but it doesn't have a good flow to it to get accomplished what you want to accomplish. So I had to figure out, what did I want to accomplish from this book? Did I just want to talk about myself? Did I just want to talk about just baseball? What did I want people to get from this book? So once I defined that within myself, I wanted people to understand that this is a beautiful game. I wanted people to understand that this is an inclusive game made for everybody, not just some. I wanted people to see how they treat people will impact a child's experience, a player's experience, a family's experience. And remember, whenever you start dealing with, sometimes we look at a kid and we say, oh, that kid is hurting. Well, no, Caleb, when you hurt, your mother hurts, your father hurts, your sister hurt, your brother hurt, your aunt hurts, your friends hurt. It impacts more than just you. That pain permeates throughout a whole mass of people that the person who hurt you doesn't even realize or necessarily care about. So this goes way beyond one person when you hurt a person. But also on the other side of the coin, when you inspire a person, when you love a person, when you give a person, when you make a person happy, then it goes far beyond that, the same way as it does the pain. So I wanted people to understand that. And then I wanted people to say, you know what? I'm tired of looking at the status quo. I am going to start using my voice to change the scenario, to change the situation. I may not think it's affecting me, but I'm going to use my voice. If it's hurting the guy that's next to me, and the mother that's next to me, the father that's next to me, and then I'm going to use my voice to say something. I'm not going to wait till it impacts me, because this is what we do in society. We say to ourselves, well, as long as it's not bothering me, then, it's okay. I can deal with it. No, that's not okay. It's not okay. We got to stop doing that.
And then to further answer your question, Caleb, George was introduced to me in November, and I got his material, and he asked me if I couldn't knock off a little bit of the rough edges, and I took. I was honored, first of all, that he asked me to do that, and number two, I took his Picasso and I just filled in the corners. I just made sure that when someone like you reads it, it's not going to be difficult to read, and it is going to be linear, so that you'll be able to start at the beginning and work your way through the end and get a very impactful story. And it's George's story. I just happen to be the professional editor and writer that, helped him realize his story in what I like to call living color, because we want it to be that way. And I'm just honored he trusted me with his material. And every person, every adult, every child who gets a benefit out of the book owes George a debt of gratitude, because George had a vision, and I just got to play a very minor part in moving that vision from point A to point B. That's all I did. So just remember, everything you do in life is going to impact not you, but hundreds of people. And once you start thinking that way, you're going to do amazing things.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why, Caleb, the book got to be a #1 bestseller, both in the US and internationally. So God was good with that. He got us out there so that we can, establish some solid foundation. So the book has some credibility to it, and it's just starting to blossom, so I can't wait to see how the length and the depth that this book is going to travel and impact and change people's lives and change the sport. That would make me so much happy. I mean, what make me so happy is that the sport and people change, and we got a chance to enjoy this sport for what it's worth.
Yeah, that also just shows how one book can change and affect so many lives, and like even a sport in general, because a sport can generally change a person on their attitude and their mood and all that stuff.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Having played for a long time myself, it was, I love sports. My whole life has always been around and evolved around sports. So, yeah, and it's definitely done a number on me. And obviously for you and, Gage to tune in tonight, just seeing the word baseball and looking at it and saying, this looks like it's going to be interesting. Let me come online and see what it's all about. Man, shoot, I can't stop smiling, man. I don't know. I might have to take
now. Winifred finally is not in her car.
Yes.
You want to add something to this conversation?
Well, I just want to tell you how this book is an amazing book. I may be older than you, buddy, but I just know that I have a nephew who's about 32, 33 years old right now, and he was similar to George's grandson, a high level, very at the top of his game. But he never got a chance. He got to play, but he didn't get to play in the positions that he was good at. They just used him to run. And, the coach, he got so disenchanted. I mean, he played for Chatsworth High School. He went to the championship and everything. But when he went to college, which he went to, he didn't follow on with his sports in college because he was so disenchanted with coaches. Yeah. And it's sad because he was really, really good. Then he was a lefty. So you know how lefties in baseball is.
And he wasn't a pitcher? Come on now. Okay.
They wouldn't let him pitch because it was always the coach's son, that got in before him. Yeah. So he was a pinch runner and this, that, and the other. But he's a really, really good kid, has a great attitude, but he never made it past college, in the college baseball or sports. He played basketball and baseball, but baseball was his primary sport because, it just wasn't a sport for Black people. And his coaches did not encourage him. And so he just got disenchanted. But a book like this is a book that really can inspire all races because it really lets you know that, you and like George said, kids will play. It's not the kids thing. It's really an adult thing, yep. that kind of stops things from happening. And I'm just, I've been a friend and, he's like a brother to me, George, for over 20 years. And I've been telling him, you have to write your books. You have to write your story. And I'm so glad it's finally happening. And it needs to be out there. And I knew it was going to be fabulous.
But I don't want to step on your toes or anything, but I'm quite a bit older than George, so
I'm older than George too.
Yeah, I'm pushing 70 here pretty soon, so you
don't look it.
Yeah, I try not to look it. Come on.
You don't
you really want to look your age? Come on. But no, I think the lesson that needs to be really accentuated, really needs to be pushed out there, is that it's going to take another group of people to stand up and be concerted and have a common voice. I mean, Jackie Robinson had Branch Rickey, okay? And everyone knows that story.
Right.
But, how many other young athletes, got off the ground and did what they were supposed to do, but then ran into that one coach who wouldn't open the door, who wouldn't make any considerations, and it just completely demonized the sport. In reality, that's exactly the best word to use is, I don't want to go and play because I'm not going to play for that coach.
Right.
And I mean, I was a professional athlete. I was a PTA member for 27 years. And, when you're in a sport, you don't really look around you. You can't really blame the players. You're going to do what you do because you're good. And you're going to focus on you and you're going to focus on being good. But once you're outside the sport, like now I'm outside the lines, I'm retired, I can look back and go, yeah, this was wrong and this was wrong and this was wrong. And if I can do anything like George, if I can do anything at all to impact and make those things go away that we obviously know were wrong, then we have an obligation to society to do that. Yeah, people like Caleb and Gage and people in their age group, they're looking at us and going, okay, we're not going to say a word. You're our role model. Show us what's right.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of what they see is wrong. How are they ever going to recognize right when it comes along?
Yes.
That's true. Absolutely. And then like there goes again. That's why we wrote the book. That's why we put the book into other people's hands. And we hope that the book continues to go forward and exchange hands. And, the ebook, it continues to grow. It's already growing across the United States and internationally now. And I just look forward to the change that's going to transpire, come from the book being published. So, I want to thank you guys for coming on and being able to share your story and being able to listen and just find out a little bit more about the book. We'll probably do something like this maybe once every other week, once a week, just to, help people understand what's in the book and why it's important for them to pick up. Even though they may think it's not affecting them or it's an experience that they'll have, when they read the material in the book, this book just does not cover baseball. It's about life. Mm-hmm. It's about, the things that kids gonna go through. It's about us and how we handle it as adults. And more importantly, coaches need to read this book before they do it. Before they coach another kid, they need to read this book, because the impact that coaches have on children and families, it's life-changing. And some people never recover from it. That's a part of some of the stories in this book. When this book when people make you not want to identify with the color you are, that's a problem. When people make you say, I'm afraid to use my voice to speak up because they won't allow me to do what they allow other people to do, that should be everybody's right and privilege because I said something, not because I said it inappropriate, just because I brought the subject up. I mean, this is deep. I've been a coach for over 25 years, and I'm telling you right now, I tell everybody this. This is the one lesson I'm gonna leave you parents with. Whoever coaches your child, you better hope you pick a good one. Because not only will that man influence what happens to them in that moment, or woman, he'll influence or she'll influence what happens to him in life. And they will tell those coaches the deepest, darkest secrets about them, about you and your household. And so if you don't have good guidance from that coach, you'll end up with a troubled situation that you didn't even know was waiting for you to manifest itself. Choose coaches in schools and people who are your social circle and your kid that influence your kid very wisely.
Yeah, and all it really takes is like one bad coach to like change like a child's perspective on baseball or even life,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you're right.
But I think one way to look at it is this way. If just an average player makes several $1 million over a career, and they make maybe $300,000 a year, they're just even a bench warmer in the major leagues makes $300,000 a year. That's life-changing money compared to other occupations.
Yes.
Yep.
So when you deny a child the ability to step on that field and take their shot, that's definitely egregious. That's bad. You can't guarantee they have the skill to get it, but that's not an excuse to remove the opportunity.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
I'm going to leave you with one question that I ask in the book. And that question I asked a coach in a meeting. I said, why do you think Black kids don't play baseball? And there are 4 things in the book that I said that person could have responded to. And when you get the book and read it, you'll know my answer. Because it is the answer. It's not the answer that most people would answer or most white coaches would answer, but I gave you the real answer in this book. So get it and read it. So thank you, guys. Any closing remarks? Anybody have anything they want to say before we get off the line? I just, I don't want to keep you guys on much longer.
Thank you for writing it. Your friends back.
Gage, what's up, man?
Hey.
The only thing I'm going to say, George, because I think you wrapped it up pretty well, is get the book, read it, but then pass it on and talk about it. If you read it and then you just put it on a shelf and you forget about it, you didn't accomplish anything.
No.
That it's a gift to be given, not kept. That's the most important thing.
I agree. Gage, you and Caleb, don't forget to email me so I can send you guys a copy of the book. And I really want you, when you guys read it, I want you to tell me what you think about it. I want to get some honest feedback. It doesn't, don't make me happy with what you say. Just tell me what you really, really feel and what you got from the book. You know, where it inspired you at, some things you didn't know, some things you know, were changed because of reading the book. And that would mean more to me than anything. And if you guys ever need anything from us, you know, just please reach out and don't be afraid. Don't be a stranger, you know, and please tell your parents you're online with us, so we won't be the weirdos online. But I already know you got solid parents because you're online right now. No 15-year-old person comes online to listen to a subject of this matter and they don't have quality parents. I can tell you that for sure.
Well, blessings, everybody. Blessings, George.
Blessings.
We'll be talking.
Okay. Thank you guys for coming. I'll see you guys later. Thank you, Winfrey. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. And I'm going to put the video online so you guys can gauge whatever you missed. You can go back and listen to it if you want.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, have a good night, guys.
All right, you too.
Bye-bye.